Thank you very much. I'm going to call upon myself to begin to ask some questions. Just a brief comment. I think you look, the Earned Income Tax Credit is just one more program. The more you work, the more you lose the money. If you marry somebody with an income, you lose the benefit. But I'll start with Mr. Edwards. This LIHTC stuff, I've really delved into it for the first time in the last week, and I have a feeling whoever came up with it and lobbied Congress to begin it was not the poor people it was designed to benefit, it was the property developers. But you've said that it benefits the developers and middlemen more than the average American. Could you elaborate on that a little bit? I think it's so true.
The reason why that is because, as the recent MIT study that I mentioned, which was a very detailed study, it collected data from hundreds of LIHTC projects across 40 states, found that the average rent savings from LIHTC buildings compared to nearby private market unsubsidized buildings is only 12%. Other studies find there's really not that much difference between rent and LIHTC buildings. So the feds give $14 billion in tax credits. So where do the benefits go? A number of studies find that most of the benefits go to the developers because the system is so complex. We also know this is true because there's a huge, intense competition at the state and city level to get these credits by the developer. That's how we know they're extremely lucrative, because they all want to get these benefits. So that's been the general conclusion from the academic literature.
Do you know about percentage-wise, and we're working on a change in LIHTC right here. Do you know percentage-wise how much the cost of a building is paid for by the tax credits about?
Well, essentially all of the cost of the building is paid by the I mean, the 9% credit covers 70% of the cost of construction. That's kind of the standard. But the investors get more benefits than just the credit. They get the benefit of the tax losses that flow from the projects, and they get the benefit potentially in 15 or 30 years from selling the buildings and getting a capital gain.
My God, you mean 70% of the building is paid for by the government, but the developers and the syndicates are the ones who wind up owning it?
That's right. The investors own it. The 9% credit gives a 70%, covers 70% of the cost of construction. And again, that's only part of the tax benefit that the investors get.
Oh my God, no wonder so many people are running around here trying to keep that program going. Is there a better way to, if it's the government's business, a better way to set up housing to help people?
Well, I mean, I talked in my testimony about deregulation and tax cuts. One thing that's striking that is often overlooked is property taxes on apartment buildings are far higher than single-family homes. There's no good reason for that. Property tax rates should be the same across the board. So there is a bias in local government tax codes against people who live in apartment buildings. For Congress, I think that in 1986, Congress increased the depreciation lifespan on buildings. That was a mistake. It increased taxes on apartment buildings. I think Congress ought to fix that mistake and reduce the write-off period for apartment building to get more private sector investment.
Okay. Mr. Carson, you know, we're talking about housing here, and we can talk about Section 8, but we're also talking about SNAP. We're talking about a variety of other programs. And it's not unusual, is this your experience, that if, say, a single mom, if she wants to marry a guy, maybe even the father of her children, if the guy's making 40, 50 grand a year, that she would lose tens of thousands of dollars in benefits?
Unfortunately, that is the case. And it becomes a lifestyle, a way of living. You know, I grew up in poverty, and I listened to a lot of the people who were on these programs and the various schemes that they would come up with, rather than trying to figure out how to get out of poverty, rather than trying to figure out how to improve.
Can you? I think we can't hear you. Can you press the?
It is.
It's not okay. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, but rather than trying to figure out how to improve their lives, improve their education, improve their income, they were always trying to figure out how to get around the various rules.
I've heard that too. It's like a full-time job to make sure you keep the money coming.
Yeah.
Mr. Husak, yes or no? Are there marriage penalties in housing assistance programs like Section 8?
Definitely, and it's because of the rule, the 30% rule. You pay 30% of your income in rent. So as your income goes up, you pay higher rent. If you get married and there's two incomes, you pay higher rent still.
Does that sometimes cause people not to get married, you think?
I think logically, it is a disincentive to marriage.
Right, and I think if more congressmen got out of the showing up at fundraisers and spent time with average people, they would come up with tons of examples of people who are specifically not married to keep these things going. In any event, I used up my time. We're going to give ourselves a chance to ask questions later, but